Hello there. Welcome to this episode of Force Ghost Conversations. This is your host, Anthony King, and this week, along with Mrs. Force Ghost Conversations, Elise King, we will be discussing episode 15 from season 3 of The Bad Batch titled The Cavalry Has Arrived. Before we get started, I'm inviting you to support Force Ghost Conversations on Patreon. If you're a fan of the podcast and would like to consider pledging your support, there'll be a link in the episode description for you to check out the various tiers offered. Also, please be sure to check out our TeePublic store to buy some Force Ghost Conversations merchandise. And without further ado, it is time to gather around the campfire for some Force Ghost Conversations. Welcome back to Force Ghost Conversations, everybody. What an amazing episode that we have planned for you today in our main discussion. Mrs. Force Ghost Conversations comes back to bring it all home as we conclude our week-to-week new release Bad Batch conversations. And this is a fantastic finale, full spoiler warning for the next portion of our episode. So you've been forewarned. Go watch The Bad Batch, the last episode, season 3, episode 15. The cavalry has arrived, and then come right back to this episode so you can hear all the goodness without being spoiled to the climactic conclusion of this incredible group of clones, that family dynamic that we've been loving since the beginning of this series, and just to see it all come to a conclusion there, the way the creators really intended it to, which I think they really stuck the landing in such a spectacular form and fashion that maybe hasn't been replicated in recent not necessarily Star Wars stuff, but just in streaming and TV content as a whole. I think they did a fantastic job, and I hope that you have enjoyed the ride as well. Listening to our conversations on a week-to-week basis on this, it's been just such a blast to have this fun ride with my wife and to enjoy this time together and chatting about this crazy galaxy from far, far away. So first off, thank you all for listening to that in our conversations, but I hope that you continue for at least one more as we enjoy this. But of course, Mrs. Force Ghost Conversations will be back anytime that she wants to chat about things in the Star Wars and Lucasfilm galaxy, as is her right. Before we get into our Bad Batch spoiler finale conversation, let's run through the news of the Star Wars and Lucasfilm galaxy over the past week. And that's where I'm going to start with, is that the Bad Batch has come to a close, right? Season 3, the final season, concluded this past Wednesday, May 1st. And they did so in epic fashion. So again, watch that episode, watch the season, watch the entire series before coming back to this episode, because I think you will really cherish every bit of that. And you'll get a lot more out of it too than just randomly listening to this episode. But hey, to each their own. Additionally, on May 4th, so at the time of this recording, the day of recording this in promotion of Star Wars Day, right? This idea of May the 4th, May the Force be with you, all that stuff, right? It's a not necessarily a nationally acknowledged holiday or recognized, but it is pretty much a acknowledged and recognized holiday among fan groups and among the world as people just celebrate Star Wars in general. Lucasfilm Animation is releasing Tales of the Empire, so it has been released at the time of this recording, and I hope that you haven't had a chance to watch that. We'll get to talking about it at some point. I haven't had a chance yet at the time of this recording to watch it yet, but I'm very much looking forward to doing so and getting more time with Barriss Offee, as well as Morgan Elsbeth, two standout characters from The Mandalorian as well as the Star Wars The Clone Wars over the last several years that we have been dying to get more information about. So very excited to see where those stories go from here. Additionally, folks, The Acolyte officially is less than 1 month away from its release. The 2-episode premiere will debut on Disney Plus on June 4th. Now, if you went to see The Phantom Menace, the 25th anniversary, in cinemas, I hope that you stuck around after the credits, because you got a little glimpse at some upcoming Acolyte goodness, a little bit of trailer stuff, but also basically a full-on action sequence. I'm not going to go into spoiler conversation about that yet because I know maybe people didn't have a chance to view it or to stay. I'm not getting into all that because that's not fair to you all. If you had a chance, I hope you got to enjoy it and partake in that fun. And for those of you at home, the only thing that I'll say is this is an incredible action sequence. I think this is going to be a spectacular show. I think I think it's going to rock for less than spectacular verbiage of telling us how the show is really going to be. I think it's going to be amazing and something to really look forward to over the next couple of weeks as we get into Acolyte season. But with May 4th, in celebration of Star Wars Day again, we got a little bit more Acolyte goodness. So we got a new poster and a brand new trailer. Now, some of the footage was from previous trailers, but they also kind of hint at this Jedi detective-esque story, right? There's a mystery to this. Jedi are dying, they're disappearing. They're not really sure what is going on. At least that's what's presented in the trailer. You see Amanda Stenberg's character going across the galaxy and engaging in these fights. It almost looked like it's clear that from the trailer that she has, or that they have left the Jedi Order in some way. And now they are maybe seeking revenge on the Jedi. I think it's going to be very fascinating to find out more about this dynamic and relationship. There's some witchery in there too. A lot of Force user stuff overall. And then at the end, there's kind of this big reveal of a dark side user with a red lightsaber in a helmet. Now, we have no idea what that entails, who that entails yet, if they're even Sith, right? Because just because you have a red lightsaber doesn't indicate that you're a Sith. We'll see. Give me this goodness. Give me this goodness. Now, I've watched a little bit of Leslie Headland's interview from the Star Wars Celebration London panel last year. Not the panel, but when she was on the live stage. And she was saying this is a story that's from the point of view and perspective of the bad guys, the dark side users, perhaps. And seeing how the Jedi go from this High Republic era, or the waning days of the High Republic, where they're at their height, their max, their full capacity, to where they are at the beginning of the Phantom Menace. And we're going to start to see that not necessarily decline, but a decline of an increase of the dogmatic nature of the Jedi, and how they just kind of became what they are, the council wise, and their approaches and the way that they do methodology in regards to becoming a Jedi in the Phantom Menace. So get very excited for all that. Again, if you want to watch a trailer, go do so on YouTube. Just search for Acolyte trailer, and I think it's called like the official trailer, something like that. Not sure why, but my podcast recording platform doesn't necessarily do well when I have multiple things going on at the same time. So I'm not going to do the typical I watch and react, we can watch together, all that kind of stuff. I'm not sure if that will necessarily work with my system. And to encourage better sound quality and all that stuff, I am just leaving it all up to you. You just heard some of my musings, my thoughts. It's very exciting. I think the trailer is great. Give me the Acolyte right now. It's a month away. Every day is a day. Every second is a second closer to the Acolyte itself. So very cool on that one. Also, the Phantom Menace, the 25th anniversary, the re-release is out in theaters now. I saw my showing last night of the Phantom Menace. It was absolutely incredible. It was like seeing it for the first time again. I can't explain that enough, right? I felt like I was watching the movie for the first time, even though I've seen it well over 100 times now. It's a movie that continues to inspire me, continues to grow my love of the story and the fandom. And last thing I'll say is I'm always finding new bits and pieces to like latch onto, to think about further. So I've just been thinking about, ever since I left the theater last night, I'm thinking about the Palpatine of it all, and just like how this man is like failing up in a way. He's like, his plans are being thwarted, but he's getting everything he wants at the end of the day, and it just might be out of cycle for. It's just really brilliant to think about. But I hope that you get to enjoy the Phantom Menace, whether it be in the theater or at home, perhaps if you're not able to. But if you really can, I wholeheartedly recommend that theater going experience, because seeing it on the big screen the way that was intended by George, with that sound system, being in a dark room and all that with like-minded Star Wars fans, it's just an unbeatable experience. Also, if that wasn't enough for your all the Star Wars goodness that this past week and May 4th and all that stuff, Star Wars Celebration 2025 tickets in Japan went on sale Thursday, May 2nd. If you're planning to go, I hope you got your tickets. I know that 3-day and the VIP tickets for adults have sold out, but rest assured, they still have more tickets. You can get a single day passes for the Friday, Saturday, Sunday for both kids and adults. And frankly, if you just buy 3 1-day passes, you also have thereby created a 3-day pass. You just kind of made it a bit more complicated and probably paid a bit more, because I imagine the 3-day bundle just kind of, cuts off a little bit of that price there. And it's the incentive for people to do that, and less badges to think about when you're packing for going to Japan. But there's still an opportunity if you really want to go. Tickets are available. I am currently not planning on going, so I hope to live vicariously through everybody. But CouchCon 2025 will be a thing. We'll do some fun stuff probably around all that. So be on the lookout next year for more information about that as we get closer to it. But with that, folks, that is all that I had for the news in the Star Wars and Lucasfilm galaxy this past week. And on the other side of the short break, we will have our final new week-to-week Bad Batch conversation, the series finale of the Bad Batch. The cavalry has arrived, and I hope you enjoy it. So stay tuned. Take care. It's the end of an era, ladies and gentlemen. I can't believe that we finally, I don't know if it's finally, but it's arrived. We have hit the point where we no longer have new Bad Batch episodes. For the first time on this podcast, we have concluded a series. We've hit the end of a series. Bad Batch has concluded. And of course, we are here to talk about it for as long as we want, to remember, to reflect, to enjoy all that was the Bad Batch, and particularly Season 3, Episode 15, The Cavalry Has Arrived. And to break it all down, we of course have our Bad Batch expert correspondent galore, Elise King, Mrs. Force Ghost Conversations. Welcome back to our final Bad Batch conversation. Not our final Bad Batch conversation, but our final brand new episode Bad Batch conversation. Yeah. Well, I was like, they could always do a 4th season if they want down the line, but I doubt they will. But you never know. How are you doing?
How are you doing?
I felt like it was a pretty good intro. I like doing that off the cuff.
We made it.
We made it. But did you make it?
I made it.
I made it?
Calm, cool, collected? No.
Were you cool as a cucumber? Tell the audience how did you feel? What? Because I'm going to tell them if you don't.
Well, I ended the episode sobbing on your shoulder.
Yep, you did. You did. Nothing wrong with that either.
I almost couldn't go to the gym afterwards.
Yep, it was abrupt.
I need to sit in silence.
It wasn't abrupt. All right, we got to
go. It was more of just I just had to, for lack of better word, release after the weeks and weeks of what's going to happen, edging, and then getting to that episode and being like, I feel every emotion to such a high degree. So yeah, audience, I cried.
You went from I'm ready, rip the Band-Aid off, and then in the morning, so let's just start from the night before, right? We're like, we're ready. Let's do this. And then you're like, hey, first thing in the morning when you're up, because I wake up first, ladies and gentlemen, check to see how long the episode is. Tell me how.
I needed to set expectations.
I need to know if it's going to be a 20-minute shebang, like, all right, all that, and then you're like, okay, well, and then I asked the question, what time does it need to hit for you to feel comfortable going into even before watching it?
And I said 45.
You said 45. All right, okay.
45 minutes.
So I come out after I kind of get ready in the morning, and you didn't even ask. I prompted. I just said, "Hey, it's 52 minutes."
And I said, "Perfect."
And he said, "Perfect. We're all set." And then I'm like, do you want to watch over lunch, or do you want to watch before we go to the gym? And he said, let's do it before the gym.
Because I didn't want to ruin my day.
Potentially ruin your day.
I had work to do.
Let's just say there was no right time because we had plans, like an activity afterwards, no matter what.
Yes.
And then we watched, and it was an emotionally charged gut punch in a way, but it was a good emotional gut punch. It wasn't in like,
it wasn't devastating or anything.
It wasn't
in
like,
still just so emotional.
It was emotional because it hit
every note,
every beat that we were hoping it would. They stuck the landing. Do you think they stuck the landing? I'm saying they did, but I want to hear you. Did you think they stuck the landing?
Yeah, I mean, I'll always take more Bad Batch.
But if they're saying this is it,
I think yes, they stuck the landing. I think everyone, including us, got a bit out of control in all the conspiracy theories that could happen.
Yeah, we certainly did. That's no joke. Yeah, we did.
I think we confirmed that the Bad Batch got a peek into a larger story. In terms of like where Star Wars from like the Skywalker saga type perspective went. They got a peek into it. It explains why they don't have perfect clones of Palpatine, but it's not like this large hand in every pot. We're going to see from start to finish how we get certain things happening. It was a smaller peak than I think we all like started brainstorming about, which was fine.
Yeah, it was fine. I realized I didn't need those glimpses.
No.
At the end of the day, what I needed was what I got, which was
it brought it back to character.
It
wasn't
this family becoming whole again.
Yep. It was about the Bad Batch at the end of the day, and not the Bad Batch involved in Project
being something that it never was.
Yeah. We made it too complicated.
Yeah.
But
they hinted at it, which is rightfully so because it's a grand universe. But at the end of the day, they reminded us
it's about the Bad Batch.
This is what it is.
Ugh, there are some moments in this episode, man.
Yeah. Well, let's start with some of those moments. I think you're alluding to, if I'm wrong, let me know. But I think you're alluding to kind of some of like the beginning stuff too, where Crosshair kind of had a death wish. Crosshair was ready to plan 99 his way out of this. He's like, "There's no way we can get out of this. One of us has to stay behind. It's me. You two are going. This is the only way that I can give back to Omega what she gave to me."
Yeah, that was the first moment. I mean, I think the first moment, like the music, like, I know I said the last time the music came in strong. The music scared the poop out of me at the beginning.
Yeah, why so?
It was so ominous. And like, I was just like, what are we walking into? What devastation are we walking into? And then at one point, I thought, I never considered that all of the Bad Batch could sacrifice themselves for Omega to get out. We could have no Bad Batch
there could be none. And that was a realistic possibility.
Yeah.
In this episode, I felt the stakes of that throughout.
So those are kind of some of the running emotions throughout the episode. I was like, oh my gosh, I never even thought, what if all of them never make it off Tantus?
I mean, let's just say between Crosshair actively being like, let me stay behind, and then Hunter and Wrecker at both various points of the journey being like, no, we're staying together.
The line that got me was like, was when he said, let's be honest, Crosshair did. Clone Force 99 died with tech.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
In the stake in the heart. And then it was just as heartwarming, or like just as that was devastating, it was just as heartwarming to hear Hunter and Wrecker go, like, he knew the risks.
Mm-hmm. We all did.
We all did. We are still a family. Just because one part of our family isn't here doesn't mean we're not.
Doesn't mean we still don't. We don't.
We're doing
exist.
This together. End of story.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I was like, oh, Rex isn't coming. Like, this is not some big, gigantic face-off between clones and the Empire.
No.
And I was like, just like they've done before, the Bad Batch is going to come in, mess stuff up, and then hopefully walk out. All alone.
Look, a little... I think that was one of the things that we speculated on, was that this was going to be some grand clone invasion of Tantus, with Rex coming in as the cavalry, right? To come save the day.
Which isn't how Clone Force 99 works.
But
we should...
It just didn't need to.
They didn't need it.
They didn't need it. I think I think it was good storytelling on their point, the creators, and the execution of it, to put them in a position that we were like, wow, how in the world are they going to get out of this? Like, they seem like they are trapped inside a bottle, flipped on its flipped over and trapped away forever. And I kept waiting for kind of that Avengers Endgame, in a way, portal to open up, where it's just like all hope is lost. Hunter looks up and sees Rex and his army of clones come down, and Cody and all these other people just come down from the skies and start just destroying Tantus. But it just proves the point that everything that they needed was right there, and it was them. They were enough.
Yeah,
the Bad Batch was enough.
Was it? Yes. It was...
Boo! That was bad.
It was enough. But it was heartbreaking. I mean, it was also very consistent that Crosshair... I mean, I think Crosshair's been looking for a way to sacrifice himself since he got off. Since Omega forced him off Tantus.
Yes.
So it was heartbreaking to hear him say it out loud. But this episode was very balanced, and just as there were many heartbreaking moments, there are also just as many heartwarming moments. So that's when I was like, they could not make it out. Like, no one could make it out but Omega.
Yeah.
It was funny to hear all those quips about, oh, Omega's this way because of the path of destruction she has left behind.
Yeah, a little bit of luck, right? It goes a long way in this. When we think that they're down and out, then the Zillo Beast just pops out. Everything that they needed to get out was on Tantus. It wasn't
luck. It was Omega's strategy.
Well, they don't know that, so it's
no. But
they're like, oh wow, we're pinned down by this group, and then the Zillo Beast comes out,
and they were like, Omega.
They're like, oh, do you think that was an accident, or what? Like, Omega. They just looked at each other in unison and are like, yep, that's our doing. That's our kid.
It was interesting too that they underlined through Echo that, like, when he was like, oh, that's what I would do, and that's how I know where she's going.
Yeah.
There is something of like, they are clones at the end of the day. There are some similarities.
They share almost like a hive mind, kind of. Like, they have some variation of differences, obviously. But it's almost like siblings, right? Can sometimes, when you spend a lot of time together, have that like innate sensory language. But again, because also good training too, right? Like, if Echo's like that, well, that's what I would have done. And it must be some of the protocol that they learned along the way too.
Yeah, no, I think so.
Take advantage of the situation around you, right? You see that. Like, this isn't we can't control this beast either. So let it out into the wild.
Did you think they got out, like Omega got out too easily?
No. Well, the first time?
No, then this one.
We're saying in general. No, I'm saying like she gets out and then Hemlock kind of grabs her again.
Oh,
then,
yeah. Like the first, yeah.
The first one, no, I don't think so, because they already set it up that she could get out.
I was like, oh, this is why they spent so much time setting it up, because now I'm like not upset that she gets out.
Yeah, you're not thinking like, oh, that was easy. Like that was not a thought that crossed through my mind. I think the most challenging part of that was the tension and the timing of getting that droid to maneuver that. And she's like, oh, I've never actually done this on this type of droid before, so we'll see if it works.
Yeah.
And then of course to do whatever that droid did to the lady when it stabs. I don't know what
kind of
toxin or medication or something that knocked her out, but provided that and then they were able to get out after that and cause enough chaos inside the space there. I did like that little quip there where the baby mouse rabbit combo,
the
toddler starts crying and it makes all the noise, and then the Zillaby starts yelling all that, and that's what calms it. And the kid was like, oh, that puts you to sleep, huh? And great to see the Zillabys kind of get a revenge on those that had harmed it.
I know. I was like,
it was oddly cathartic in a way.
It was so interesting when Hemlock was like, go after it. And he was like, I'm trying to bring the Bad Batch to me. And he never underestimated the Bad Batch, but he underestimated Omega.
He did. Yeah.
He consistently underestimated her.
He certainly did.
And she's what made it.
The destructive power of the Zillabys too, I would say.
Yeah. So, I mean, I thought her escape, the first time was I was like, okay, this is why the episodes before, like, this is the payoff. Mm-hmm. Also, it wasn't too convenient, right, that Emery was ready to go with the children.
Yeah. Also set up too. So again, those episodes had meaning. We were ready for this episode, the big payoff for a while.
Yeah, I would, if, on a rewatch, I would definitely watch it in a block.
You have to watch them all at once and just be like, all right, we're there. I'm ready. Start the
finale.
This
is kind of like the Bad Batch movie.
The roller coaster has gone downhill at a certain point. You're not stopping the train.
No.
Just wild how like it gets to that point there where even you were saying a bit, all these the main three of the Bad Batch that are on Tantus, they get defeated pretty heavy-handedly by Hemlock's Shadow group.
Were you disappointed it was just clones? It wasn't, it wasn't anyone special that we had seen before?
It is odd that they spent a lot of time on that for it not to be anything, but I think maybe that was perhaps their intent, was to spark the conversation. Maybe it was part of the creative team to ignite that passion.
I think because I was like, it wouldn't have been that hard with the amount of time they dedicated to the Shadow Soldier to like showcase that it was a cadre, and like they had different like.
Because I mean, if they wouldn't have shown him, I would still have gotten the same feeling that I did watching it. I think like spend all that time with him, because I noticed that there were 5 of them.
Yeah.
And they each had like unique abilities in a way, and I was like, oh, this is just the Bad Batch facing themselves.
Yeah, it's the Shadow version. It's the Shadow selves.
This is them if they still work for the Empire, doing devious tasks on their dime.
Yeah. This is them without. This is clones that are truly clones without a sense of personality, a sense of right
ripped
or wrong,
of everything that we grew to love about them in the Clone Wars.
Yeah, this is what they would be.
They're basically just battle droids.
Which would make sense to me why they get their butts handed to them so thoroughly, because it's them, but without the quote unquote weakness of conscience.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I was really concerned that Wrecker was gonna die.
Many times
he got hurt
that armor
bad.
he was that armor must be super thick, because he was getting that armor was pierced. I mean, you see it, and like
the bear claws.
Yeah,
the
first off, the
claw.
monster. I mean, they made a point in the beginning where they're like, "You had to fight it."
I mean, and they were just like,
and he's like, "Oh, I'll get there."
he was not at full strength.
No,
even entering the base.
No.
And then they get tortured, and like Hunter's screams cut me to the core because like Hunter doesn't scream.
Yeah, it takes a lot.
And then when they get out and Wrecker's about to get stabbed and he grabs the like electroid thing and starts getting shocked.
Yeah, again.
That shot though, where he sees Omega's captured and he grabs the electronic thing or the electric
kind of like a spear, yeah, like a vibro spear in a way.
His scream or something, he was like, "Go, I got this," or whatever. It was like a feral, nothing will stop me. I am ready to die for this moment. Like,
yeah,
it was another gut-wrenching moment where I was like, they might all die. They might all die.
I mean, even just before this too, Crosshair lost his hand.
It made me uncomfortable seeing them beat so thoroughly. Did it make you uncomfortable?
Well, yeah, because I wasn't expecting it. And it just made me laugh that like this was Hemlock's victory right here, but his hubris is his ultimate defeat because
as always
he could have just ended them right there, right? But he had to be like, oh, now I have to mold you. I have to control you, right? It's all about control at the end of the day. Controlling clones, right? I've controlled these ones. I can tame you, wild beast. You still can serve some use to me for my goal and aims and all that. And no, he, yeah, you see these Imperials. Not that I'm rooting for them or anything, but I'm like, oh, yep, that's where you went too far. Your ambition was what you're undoing ultimately. This is where you went wrong. Like you could have won if you stopped, but you can't. You can't. It's a dark side mentality to want
That's
more.
That's where the balance comes in. And because it's always going to show a weakness. It made me happy that the clones were released. It did hurt that so many of them.
And then that was kind of it for a lot of them, yeah.
But they did say they had one last battle in them. Like
they made the choice. They didn't have to.
No. They could have gotten honestly, away. Like we haven't met clones who are scared to die.
I think a lot of them were ready to get some revenge on the people that had held them captive. I can understand that mentality. Yeah. They found that little bit of adrenaline that rage that kept them alive in there. And you have to hold on to something when you're in that type of environment. And they each found something in this battle that, they were looking for in that final bastion of freedom that they were trying to attain.
That fight also, with how hard it was and how like terrible, there were some like actual like I remember when we were watching, you were like, oh, like there was some pretty brutal deaths.
Yeah, no joke.
The action was actioning.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the especially when those shadow troopers get released, they had no
them getting
no reservation.
Them getting just crushed from the shadow soldiers. I think also that fight served the purpose of, I was like, these men deserve a rest.
I would take a break.
These men do not need to fight. They need to rest. Like, this was the most grueling fight they've ever had in their lives. Like, it was bad. They were getting beat bad. And I was like, they've earned rest. Like, this confirms it. How they're tired.
Well, they get there, but we'll get there momentarily.
Do you know the other moment that really got me?
What was that?
It was when they were Hunter and Crosshair were running after Omega and Hemlock to the roof, which was just like a gorgeous scene how they set it up anyways.
Yeah, great lighting, great all that stuff. Yeah.
But they're leaning on each other.
Providing
to
support.
Take the shot, and like they can't even. Neither of them can stand up straight. They can only move forward together. Crosshair can't take the shot without him. Hunter can't take any shot because he's not Crosshair, comparatively, and he like kind of
shooting left-handed.
Crosshair through it. And I was just like, when they walked out together with the rain on their face and the lightning like flashing and like highlighting them, I was like, whew.
That was great.
It was so beautiful.
It was a majestic way to bring to a conclusion that storyline.
Yeah. And because they're brothers and sister, they knew the right thing to do.
Without communicating and even across a bridge, they were
in
in sync.
Yeah.
They instinctivly knew what to do. Training. But that connection that they shared with each other. And
Crosshair shot Hemlock a lot. I was like, yeah, one more.
And he falls, and that's the end of the Hemlock.
He was so stupid.
Hey.
Thank goodness.
His undoing, yeah, exactly. How many other Imperial officers do we see do that? Literally, we see another one do that, go too far. Rampart. Nala says, like, she's going in there going, I'm taking... The Camino ends with me, right? Our knowledge, our people, our culture. She's like, this is it. It cannot be used the way that they're trying to use it.
That was another emotional moment where she was like, no one's gonna stop hunting you.
Yeah.
We have, like, beyond...
Yeah, I'm going to protect you.
Getting out, you have to crush what we've created here. And then you're right. She did it for her people.
Yeah. She's, the whole Kaminoan culture is just her now.
Yeah. And then she pressed
and their knowledge that they had worked so hard to cultivate and own. Like, they're the only ones that owned cloning. Yeah, she's like, I'm taking out the and again, another hubris thing. They didn't say have a USB drive with the backups, right? Because this project was so insulated and need to know basis. It was so secured, so hard to find this place. The knowledge wasn't spread, and frankly, the only person that knows it, other than just project title at this point, is the Emperor. He's the only one that knows what this really means and what the ramifications are, and this explains why they're still working on it come time of the Mandalorian, why they haven't really perfected it even at the time of Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, no, because they start from...
They're starting from
beginning.
Less than zero, frankly.
Yeah, not even a mind to help you start of how to get going. They don't have anything. I thought it was... This is kind of like a weird thing to describe. I think it's important in Star Wars when people who don't look human are heroes.
Oh, okay. I like that. Why?
Just like we have a conversation all the time of, like, we need people of diverse backgrounds to be superheroes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think that can be done well in Star Wars when it's not just the human looking people. It's like the quote unquote creatures or monsters that
I like that.
come in and act as heroes.
Well, it shows the breadth of society.
Yeah, to just say, like, someone who doesn't look like you can be a hero.
Yeah, anybody can.
I was also...
Heck, the Zillo Beast could even be.
So I wasn't glad to see her die, but I was like, again, like you said, she wanted revenge.
This is her taking control of the situation.
She chose her end.
She chose her end, and she said, I am heroically not letting them have this information and research that my culture has developed,
for evil,
cultivated. Yeah, using it for wrong purposes.
And there is something comforting in consistency, and Rampart it all the way home.
He sure did. He's like, it's important to them, so I must know, so that he's the wagons are the wheelbarrows are turning in his head of what can I use this for. And we talk, typically, folks, we don't talk about the episode until we get to this point here, but I could not for the life of me just, like, how they've been, like, teasing Necromancer, and then as soon as they get to a point where they're about to kind of explain it in a larger degree, more specifically, then they cut away to something else, right? Boy, did they do that in this episode here. Am I right? Where Rampart is literally there with blaster pointed at Nala, say, where he's like, all right, explain to me everything about Project Necromancer. And then it cuts away, and then it comes right back to him, and he's like, that's really interesting. Great way. Oh, I can see why it's so important to the Emperor now. Like, come on, what was in between there? Just give me a dang.
But don't we know?
I know it is, but I'm like, well, what if it is more than just the Emperor's regenerative thing?
You're a silly man if you think that the creators are going to give you anything.
They don't want to give me
10%.
They don't want to give me a concrete definition of it. That's what they're.
They want to, because otherwise
they don't want to shoehorn
limits them.
Yeah, they don't want to shoehorn people into that, because people are like, oh, it's more than just the Emperor. It's about like creating like an army of controllable force sensitive people, right? Like, or the Dark Trooper program. Like, those could all be facets of the Necromancer work.
Yeah.
So that I'm like, well, is that all that? Tell me, is it all that? Is it none of that? Is it just the I don't know. Patience, because one day they will. They're going to.
Don't you want
kind
more
of have
Star
to?
Wars?
And I want it.
Then
I just
can't have them
it was
explain
just
everything.
right there. It was right there.
Yeah, as everything has been right there in every Star Wars story. And we guess what?
Like, come on.
If they had explained it earlier, we never would have had the Bad Batch.
Probably not. No.
So,
well,
but it was funny.
I
heard you hold your breath, and then you just kind of like.
I side-eyed and rolled my eyes and sighed. I did the whole shebang.
Did the Rampart Hemlock interaction live up to your petty fantasies? Like, they were so petty towards each other.
Yeah, that lived up to. And then even the Tarkin conversation later on too. Like, just Imperials being Imperial, talking to each other,
having to one up each other in the bureaucratic BS.
Yep.
Polite, but like cutting.
Oh, absolutely. You know, when they're like, even to the earlier conversation that we talked about, in a couple episodes past, where Hemlock is having that conversation with Tarkin, he's like, "Oh, do you need help? I can come on by and learn about what Necromancer is and all that." And then now Tarkin got to the point where he's like, "No, I'm coming to check out. You have a rogue clone insurrection. You can't handle this. I'm coming."
Yep.
And of course, Hemlock's too busy to be like, "No, nope, it's all under control."
Yeah.
I have to go do some other stuff now. And then he's like, "Great, I'll see you there in a couple minutes."
Yep. Be there in a sec. Bye.
Turns out the Bad Batch made it out just in time. As
I even kind of like sat back in my chair when Tarkin arrived.
Tarkin arrives. Yep. And then there was a split second where I thought, well, we didn't see a body per se, and we've seen people survive things.
Everyone said this about Tech. Tech is dead.
Tech is certainly gone, and I like the confirmation that Hemlock also is gone, because that could have been a lingering thing as well.
All the Project Stardust.
Also lingering things. Obviously, Tech is not the Shadow Trooper.
No.
I'm like, oh, okay, that was a clear confirmation.
Which, thank goodness.
Which, again, they weren't going to just explain that in the last episode and then have to resolve that entire thing in this last thing. So, that was pure fan wild speculation.
Yeah, you were so out of character.
We ran off with that one.
You.
Team effort here, everybody.
Okay.
We are of one mind. Anywho, they are able to escape handless Crosshair, barely breathing Wrecker, Hunter hobbling along. Hobbling Hunter, and Omega and the kids get out. And
Omega killed people.
Omega went off. Yep.
No stunning here.
No stunning. Also, I mean, ipso facto, she let the Zilla Beast loose, so she's kind of responsible for all that too.
You gotta do it. She was saving children.
I kind of wondered. I gotta imagine Tarkin's crew kind of had to deal with the fallout of the Zilla Beast, or did they just let it run wild on Tantus?
Yeah.
And then like you said, divert all resources now to Project Stardust.
And it all comes together.
It's interesting that the Emperor wasn't like, "Oh, hey, where did that money go for that? That was kind of important."
I wonder if when they say all resources go to Project Stardust and they like just are allowed to ramp that up, I wonder if that's the same timeline of when Jyn Erso's father is like, you must come with us.
I think that's when he leaves, actually.
That's what I meant. Like when they come for her father.
No, he in my viewpoint, where I'm kind of guessing where this is in the timeline, if it's roughly 3 years after the Clone Wars ends, this is when he leaves the Stardust program to like go into hiding.
Oh, so like when it was ramping up and he
learns what the intent of the weapon is for, and then he leaves it and goes into hiding, and that's when Krennic has to go searching for him across the galaxy
because they've gone as much work as
he's the only one that can figure out how to do the whole laser technology.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking about that. I was like, oh, it's connecting. Where is it connecting?
The pieces are there.
Yeah.
We're connecting. We're connecting.
Yeah. But yeah, it was overall the fight to get out.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There were stakes.
A lot of stakes.
People left not well, even though they were alive.
There was loss.
And I did at the end of the day like that the Bad Batch did what they do best, which is cause utter chaos and destruction.
True to form.
Yeah, true to form. And then we have the sweetest ending ever.
Ending one, we'll call it.
Yeah. Can I tell you what I thought? So, you know, when we like get back and they're all sitting under the tree at Pabu.
Mm-hmm.
One, thank goodness Pabu survives this, and it does
Absolutely.
Remain a safe haven and for healing.
That was on our board of like, I'm so worried.
Yeah, thank goodness it did not go the Star Wars way. But when they have that like moment where they fade to black and like Crosshair sitting down on one side, Wrecker sitting down on the other, I was like, what an amazing poster if you could screenshot that and then have I know he's not force sensitive, but to have a force ghost of Tech.
Just put him in there.
In the tree
just proudly looking on.
Yeah, propped up on the tree. Mm-hmm. Oh, what an amazing poster. I'm tearing up. I'm making myself tear up thinking about it.
Internet, make it happen. People that are better at Photoshop than I.
Someone do it, please.
And put like the victory celebration song from Return of the Jedi in there too.
So
yeah, it was a beautiful ending, I will say, to that story. It was nice seeing the kids as well on their confirmation that they escaped. A lot of the clones that we had seen throughout the 3 seasons on Pabu, especially those kids from the earlier episodes. I think I saw the mayor of Pabu as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, were you happy they chose to go with the Bad Batch deciding to rest?
Yeah, they earned it. Yeah, that was what I was hoping
they didn't earn it after that fight.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping for.
How do you earn it?
I think it would have been more odd to me if they were like, this, I have to keep fighting. Like, that's kind of goes against what they've been working towards in this series for their overall
I thought like Omega would be like, I can't let it go, but since they did help the clones escape, that's not hanging over her head. And she did deserve a childhood.
Yeah, she deserved to sit.
She deserved to grow up
and to like just do things.
Stability.
Yeah, absolutely. To that point too, I did enjoy the Emery Echo conversation where, I mean, that was almost, in my opinion, the tease for if there is a next.
Yeah.
Them with Rex, theoretically.
There's still a big question between that point and then when the rebels find Rex.
Yeah, there is many years. I mean, we don't really know where this conclusively ends. But that is.
But how many? Like, let's say it was 3 years.
Let's say it's 3 years. That would roughly be. Okay, so 10 years. And roughly 13-ish years.
Yeah.
More.
Yeah.
That we don't know exactly. What happens to Rex and the clones? They made the Senator Chuchi reference, which might have been a backdoor kind of thing that they were leading towards. And Emery clearly has a lot of internal guilt that she wants to work through. Echo wants to continue doing the fight. Rex is still doing the fight. There's a lot more work to be done and answers potentially that could be answered. That maybe that is the next animated thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perhaps they set it up well if they want to do that. So maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But
yeah.
That I saw in my head. I'm like, oh yes, there's potentially a future thread.
it made me think like, oh, we didn't see, like, based off the trailer and stuff, we didn't see as many people so consistently as I thought we would. Like, I had always been like, oh, it's gonna be greatest hits from the last 2 seasons, right? And on a level it was.
Oh, but they didn't stick around.
They didn't stick around and near the end. I think the creators reminded me, and everyone obviously, but that this was about the Bad Batch.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
And
it came back
many
home.
of the Bad Batch outside of Echo did not feel a huge calling to like be part of a larger rebellion.
And that tracks with what.
Yeah. So
that's why Echo leaves. Yeah.
It was nice that they kind of expanded the world, but then brought it back to the main focus, which was the family.
As you should. Shows should be a diamond.
And then we got to the second ending.
Yeah, part 2.
I really cried.
Yep. Yep. For those at home, the spoiler is that Omega it takes place years in the future. We have no idea when. You and I kind of speculated it could potentially be after the Death Star is destroyed.
But it very well could be before.
Could easily be before. Omega just says Rebellion needs pilots.
Yeah, they need pilots a lot.
They need skilled pilots. I'm ready. I feel a calling to help.
Yeah.
And Hunter is like, oh, I can't stop you. You've earned the right to choose to fight.
Oh, what started the emotions for me again was when he goes, "You're our kid." Yeah, not like you're our sister. No, you're our kid.
Yeah, you're our kid. You're not just we don't look at you as that type of relationship as a brother sister. No, we're your dads. We're the dad batch.
Yeah. I don't know however far in the future, but Hunter aged a little better than Rex did. Mm-hmm. Rex looks like an old Santa Claus.
We did, the waters of Pabu are probably a bit more comforting, restful
than fighting a fight.
Than the desert. Yeah. Also, however many years Rex is potentially still fighting.
Yeah.
Beyond just relaxing on Pabu and living the island life.
Did you like Hunter's island clothes?
I like the island clothes. I like the pull back ponytail, the gray in the beard, but it was a touch of gray. It wasn't the full Rex white with bald head. No, he still kept his hair. He didn't lose it.
I could make some jokes, but this is a family friendly podcast.
It's a family friendly podcast. Yeah. Yeah. That Omega kept growing the hair too.
When I saw Omega's face, like when she turned on the light in the cave, I grabbed you because I was like, oh, I was not expecting a time jump.
No,
did you expect a time jump? I thought they just kind of leave it as like they are a family.
I kept it open in my head before this episode even started, where I'm like, oh, maybe they could do a little leap in the future. Yeah. I didn't know how long. But I thought, yeah, there's an opportunity if they want to tease what's next to do that. I don't think this teased what's next at all. I think this was just a nice it's nice to know that Omega is doing stuff with the rebellion.
Yeah, and it did kind of confirm that, because it is consistent. She wasn't going to be okay not mm-hmm. She's a woman of action.
Yeah. And the dads are like, I'm staying here. I'm old. I'm not fighting this fight. But who's to say?
Maybe. Well, he did say
Rex is need us. Yeah, exactly. You need us, we're there. Rex says, hey, we need you on Endor. and then actually Hunter, Wrecker, and Crosshair are there on Endor with Ewoks. Yeah, sign me up.
I don't know. At first I was like, I really want to see Crosshair and Wrecker again. But there was something right about having it just be Hunter and Omega.
Look, I think it's right that it was just them. And I think it serves the purpose of, you don't need the whole family there to send you off when you're trying to sneak away, right?
No, I think the situation was right. It was nice as a fan. Too. I was like, oh, it would have been nice. Oh,
you would have wanted to see what they look like?
Yeah, but I was like, for the scene, and also, there is a special bond between he is the dad, of the group.
To that point, two bald men would just be two bald men older too.
Yeah, that's true.
You wouldn't have gotten the grays unless Wrecker grew a beard. Maybe they grew beards on Pabu. That was just there.
Made me excited for cosplay for stuff, because I was like, I'd love to see adult Omega.
Bunch of dads doing
oh my
older.
gosh, and then the Hunter.
That's what I'm thinking.
I was like, that'd be a great duo, and it's a lot more doable than like full on armor.
Absolutely. Well, at least I think for me this was a 10 out of 10. I had no notes on how they could improve this episode.
I mean,
the
fact that I was sobbing not because of like death, but because I like felt the ending. I felt the love.
You felt compelled to emotion.
Yeah, I mean that's the biggest sign of like a great series, and it made me. I was nervous. I'm not gonna lie. The last couple weeks, but how this has ended, I'm like, I could definitely have the Bad Batch on again.
Yeah, and you're also not like there's not like one super huge lingering question that never got answered. That you're like, I can't think of any where I feel very just at peace with the series.
Yeah, I do too. It's now going to be like the comfort of an old friend, not
yeah. Like even as much as I love Rebels, Ezra and Thrawn go out into Purgle Town, and they're like, "Wow, that's a a lingering question that leads to a different story, of course." But this is a bookend. This is I'm happy with them just living out, knowing that they're living their life on Pabu.
It's one of the happier stories for clones, as like tough as it is in the 3 seasons of
yeah.
Not many clones find family.
Yeah, Star Wars deserved a happy ending for once.
Yeah, this is like as happy as you could get really for Star Wars, I think.
Yeah.
So
that's a great way to put it.
It's still my Star Wars.
Yeah, it will forever be yours.
I will forever love the Bad Batch. I already miss them, but luckily
they're never really gone. And I did like that Omega had the tech goggles.
Oh, I forgot. I can't believe I didn't mention it. That's also what really the whole "you're my kid" thing got it going, and then that sealed the deal in terms of the crying, that she still had them, and he was always there. That was a really nice nod.
It was a beautiful way to conclude this incredible journey. You know, we started this fully pandemic 2021.
I know.
2021,
Look at 22. Us now. Everyone's going to celebrations.
And this is an integral part of the Star Wars story.
Yeah. The thank you videos from the cast and crew were very nice. And it was fun seeing all of the different videos of people cosplaying. I hope that the Bad Batch is something that people like want to keep. And
they continue to.
Like loving and celebrating in those avenues, because I think they deserve it.
They recorded the last episode together, Michelle Lang and D. Bradley Baker. They were in the same studio at the same time. So that was a nice, touching, fitting end to their journey with this, because I know they started recording separately because of the pandemic, right? They had to record wherever Dee's studio is, and then I think Michelle was out in New Zealand or Australia. So all just showcases the journey of where we were as fans 3+ years ago, and now where we're at here now. Pretty cool stuff.
Good job, Star Wars.
Good job. Do you have any final thoughts on the Bad Batch as we conclude our last Bad Batch discussion episode? I mean, of course, we may in the future do like a deep dive on a specific theme or an episode or a plot point, all that stuff. But you know, for this type of episodic podcast where it's like, okay, the new release comes out, then we talk about it. The new release comes out. Just any last thoughts as this is your Star Wars? I want you to be able to air anything that you want about this.
I don't think about the Bad Batch in general. I think this is a great example of how animation can grow with all audiences. Not just relegated to a certain age group or a certain type of story. And it made me excited too. And I think Star Wars is getting good at this, of like, stories don't have to be a million seasons or like the biggest blockbuster to be really impactful.
I agree.
3 seasons of an animated show is no easy feat, but it's nice that they could do something so impactful in such a contained set of episodes.
Even in today's day and age, nothing is a guarantee. So if you can finish your story, take it in a way that you feel comfortable doing it.
Yeah. So I'm just so grateful to like have found new characters as I've grown in the Star Wars universe that I just connect with so much.
Yeah.
Like I'm a woman in her 30s, you know, and like a
bunch of
relatively
clone dads.
Yeah, really got so I think it just shows like Star Wars really can stay relevant for you with an open heart. And I can't again, my faith has been validated in the Star Wars creators, and I can't wait to see where they go next.
Well, to your fandom, I will just remind the audience again that you were a fan of the Bad Batch from their appearance in Clone Wars from the start, and that in that season 7, because you had watched season 7 after it came out, right? You did a full binge of the Clone Wars. Well, we watched it together.
Yeah.
But then when we got to those 4 episodes, that Bad Batch arc, you're like, wow, that's great. That's amazing. Now, is there any more of that? And I was like, funny you mentioned that, because they get a whole show coming up. And you're like, whoa, amazing. That's incredible. Yeah. So you like connected with them from moment 1, even without the Omega of it all.
I know. I feel very lucky that
you like foresaw what was coming without even knowing what was coming. I saw the
magic that was the Bad Batch. Yeah. No, it just makes me happy that I just feel really lucky because there's so many great characters in the universe, and I feel lucky that the ones I connected with the most got their own show.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'll forever be grateful for that.
And we're able to conclude their show, which I think is an important thing in today's day and age, where a lot of stuff gets canceled after one season or gets rushed that they can't really finish it the way they want to.
Yeah.
So we're fortunate. Let's just say that. Yeah. Well, you teased the what's next in the future, and as far as I know, what's next aside from Tales of the Empire is The Acolyte, and you've been doing a really good job of trying to keep up with the High Republic as best as you can. I have so
much to read for the High Republic.
You do have a stack, but you're basically in phase 3 of the High Republic. You've got a little bit more to go to get to that point. But The Acolyte is next, which is set in the High Republic. And I wanted to ask you on a recording here, how excited are you for that as a person that has kind of stayed as much as you can in a healthily way without binging the entire book series? And you've been steadily keeping up with the books as they came out from 2021 all the way to almost to now, basically. Yeah. What makes you excited about the Bad Batch, not the Acolyte, the High Republic, seeing this era in a live action sense? What is that? How are you excited for it? You geeking out about it? What's the feeling on that one?
I haven't really like put any emotion into it because I was so focused on the Bad Batch, but I am excited for the Acolyte because all of the like politics and world building and like how the Jedi function as an order that we get in the first trilogy is like all what the High Republic is.
Yeah. Yep. It's literally riddled with it.
So I really like that of like, okay, we have all these stories of what the world's like without the Jedi as a unit or as an order. Mm-hmm. And now we're entering a world where they are at their prime, so to speak. And you start to see how they go from like the prime of the light of the Jedi to the like bureaucratic, bloated,
dogmatic,
like
full of hubris,
kind of lazy order we see in episodes 1 through 3.
Fearful, frightened.
We understand how the order gets to a point where they could fail someone like Anakin, right?
And themselves,
and the universe. So I'm excited to see that world more, and I think the Acolyte is going to dig into what it means to be good and bad. I mean, just like everything, but like through a more political lens.
Yeah,
and that's always exciting to me.
Yeah,
because the Jedi are really frustrating, and so it's nice to see how that happens.
Yeah. I got 2 more thoughts for you on the Acolyte. 1, Carrie-Anne Moss, Trinity in Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, I think the cast is amazing. I always love the perspective of a bad guy. they shed light on what we think is good, and like kind of calls out hypocrisies and stuff like that. So, I mean, I'm excited for that too. I'm let's just say with live action recently, I haven't been disappointed.
No, we have not.
So I'm not like going into it with trepidation or anything like that.
That's right.
But it also gives me, I'm not going to lie, the High Republic's a commitment.
Oh, yeah.
But like the stories they're telling are really fundamental to who the Jedi are. And so it's nice to see that they're bringing TV into it, because it kind of gives validity to the stories being told there, to like the general public, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. The last thing is the tie-in, which is, Vernestra Rowe is in The Acolyte.
Yeah, audience, if you haven't read
fan
the books,
favorite character from the books, at least for us. We really enjoy Vernestra.
She is really cool.
So to see an older,
but she's older, so I don't know. Maybe she won't be as cool.
I think we better temper our expectations that she won't be the 16-year-old jovial lady that she is 100+ years later.
She'll also have like seen some ish by that point.
She'll seen things.
She'll have gone through tragedy,
lost friends and all that. Like she'll have seen full lifespans of people.
But it will be interesting to see her from when she just became a Jedi Knight, right?
Well,
in the beginning.
Well, yeah. Well, we know, from the books. Yeah, we
see
her that.
And then seeing who she is now, because I think that could kind of be like an arc. She could be an archetype for like the optimism of a Jedi, and then how the world and the Order beat them down if she's not cool.
How does it feel that you are going to be, because of keeping up with the books and the comics and all that? And let me tell you what, listeners, she does a great job. Like she's reading the comics, the manga, the young,
thank goodness for that character.
Every book up to this point, for the most part, right? The adult books, the middle grade readers, right? We've been keeping up with all of it because it's been a very exciting endeavor that Lucasfilm Publishing has been doing. How does it feel that you're in a way, you're going to be a leg up on a lot of people?
I'm an expert.
Yeah. You're like, oh, I see the Easter egg here. Like you're going to be that person.
To be fair, like, I don't know if I'll catch all of them, because.
But we've read
like 20 books.
Look, that's entirely true. But if you're told about it, you'll be like, oh, yes, I remember that feeling.
Yeah, it is. I mean, they are really.
You're going to connect to it more in a different way than if you hadn't read those books, which I think is going to be more beneficial to your viewing experience, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, those definitely going to be like a deeper sense of being in the world.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I'm excited. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait for The Acolyte. At the time of recording this, I'm seeing The Phantom Menace tonight, and they're showing a little preview of it like they did for Andor in front of Rogue One.
Don't tell me anything.
So, okay, I will keep it to the chest. But we only have a month until new Star Wars comes out. And it's been a wonderful ride to chat all about the Bad Batch, and to thank you for coming on the show and just providing your insights and experiences with the show as this is your Star Wars. It's been a real pleasure over these last 15 weeks and 2 seasons, frankly, to this point. And for listeners at home, I thank you for joining this journey as well. And we'll be back next week with some Phantom Menace conversation for you. So stay tuned for that. We'll have more details on our social media channels. So until then, may the Force be with you. Take care.